Hana sat on the cold metal floor of their quarters, her small legs dangling over the edge of the sleeping platform. Today was different. Today was her 6th birthday, and today everything would change forever. Commander Vextar stood before his daughter, holding a strange device that looked like a silver belt with glowing blue lines running through it. His alien features were hard to read, but Hana could sense something heavy in the air. The other Keltharian children had warned her about this day. They called it the Binding Day. "Little star," her father said in his deep, rumbling voice, "today you become a true daughter of Kelthar." Hana looked up at him with wide eyes. She had always known she was different. While the other children had smooth grey skin and large black eyes like her father, she had pale skin and brown eyes like the humans she sometimes saw on the station. Her hair was dark and soft, not the crystalline strands that grew from Keltharian heads. "Will it hurt, Papa?" she asked in their language, though she secretly preferred speaking the human words she had learned from her mother's old books. "Only for a moment," Vextar replied, kneeling down to her level. "This is the Iron Guard. Every female of our people wears one from childhood until she finds her true mate. It will protect your honor and ensure you choose wisely when the time comes." Hana touched the device nervously. It felt warm and seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. "But why do I need protecting? The boys at school are silly, not scary." Her father's expression softened slightly. "Because you are special, little star. You carry 2 bloodlines within you. The human side makes you curious about things that might not be good for you. This will keep you safe until you find someone worthy." As he wrapped the iron guard around her small waist, Hana felt a strange, tingling sensation. The device seemed to mold itself to her body, becoming part of her. Blue lights danced across its surface before settling into a steady, dim glow. "There," Vextar said, standing up. "Now you are protected. Only your destined mate will be able to remove it. The Iron Guard knows who is meant for you." Hana stood up and walked around the room, getting used to the weight of the device. It wasn't heavy, but she could feel it there, a constant reminder of something she didn't fully understand. "Papa, what was Mama like?" she asked suddenly. This question always made her father go quiet, but today felt different. Today felt like a day for answers. Vextar walked to a small chest in the corner and pulled out a worn book with a faded cover. "So your mother was brave," he said, handing it to her. "She came here alone, just a young human explorer. She wasn't afraid of our customs or our appearance. She saw beauty in differences." Hana opened the book carefully. The pages were yellow and smelled like something sweet and old. The words were in human writing. English, her father had told her. She had been secretly learning to read it by studying other books her mother had left behind. "She left these for you," Vextar continued. "Stories from her world. Perhaps it's time you learned more about that side of yourself." That night, Hana lay in her bed reading about faraway places called Earth, where humans lived under a yellow sun and breathed air that tasted like flowers. She touched the Iron Guard through her nightclothes and wondered if somewhere out there among the stars was someone who could understand both halves of who she was. The device hummed softly against her skin, and for the first time, Hana began to dream of freedom. The morning alarm echoed through Mining Station Alpha 7 like it had every day for the past 12 years. Hana rolled out of her narrow bunk and stretched, feeling the familiar weight of the Iron Guard against her waist. At 18, she had grown tall and lean, but the device had grown with her, always fitting perfectly as if it knew her body better than she did. She dressed quickly in her translator uniform, a simple grey jumpsuit with communication badges sewn onto the shoulders. The mirror in her small quarters reflected back a face that still looked foreign among the thousands of Keltharians on the station. While they had smooth grey skin and large dark eyes, Hana's human features made her stand out like a bright star in a dark sky. Walking through the corridors to her workstation, Hana passed groups of Keltharian workers heading to the mines. Some nodded politely, others whispered behind their hands. After all these years, she was still the curiosity, the half-breed daughter of Commander Vextar, the only one of her kind in this corner of the galaxy. Her job was simple but important. Different alien species came to trade at the station, and someone needed to help them communicate. Hana had a gift for languages that even impressed her father. She could speak Keltharian, human English, the clicking sounds of the insect-like Zephyrians, and even the musical tones of the gas giant dwellers called symphonics. "Good morning, Translator Hana," called out Crix, one of the dock supervisors. His grey face showed what passed for a smile among his people. "We have 3 new ships arriving today. 1 human vessel, 2 from the Outer Rim." Hana felt her heart skip a beat at the mention of humans. She rarely got to speak with her mother's people. Most human ships that stopped here were just passing, through picking up supplies or fuel before heading to more important places. But every time she met one, she felt a strange pulling sensation, like she was remembering something she had never learned. She settled into her translation booth, small glass room overlooking the main docking bay. From here she could see everything, the massive cargo ships, the tiny personal shuttles, and the endless stream of workers moving supplies around. The iron guard pressed against her ribs as she leaned forward to adjust her communication equipment. Sometimes, in quiet moments like this, Hana wondered what her life would be like without the device. She had tried asking her father about it a few times over the years, but he always gave the same answer: "When the right person comes, you will know, and so will the Iron Guard." But what if the right person never came? What if she spent her whole life waiting for someone who didn't exist? She had seen other Keltharian women find their mates. The Iron Guard would unlock with a soft chime, and everyone would celebrate. But those women were full Keltharian. They had mates chosen from their own people. Hana was different. Half of her blood came from a species that most Keltharians barely understood. What if her destined mate was human? What if he lived on Earth, millions of light years away, and would never find his way to this remote mining station? The first ship of the day was docking now. Through her booth speakers, she could hear the pilot requesting permission to come aboard. The voice was speaking human English with an accent she didn't recognize. Something about the way he talked, calm and respectful, made her sit up straighter. "Station Alpha 7, this is salvage vessel Lucky Strike requesting docking permission. We have salvage materials for trade and need supplies." Hana pressed her communication button. "Lucky Strike, this is station control. You are cleared for docking bay 7. Welcome to Alpha 7. She didn't know it yet, but this ordinary moment was about to change everything. The Lucky Strike was smaller than most ships that docked at Alpha 7, but it looked well maintained. Hana watched from her translation booth as the airlock opened and 5 humans stepped onto the station. They moved with the easy confidence of people who had traveled between many worlds. The captain was a woman with short red hair who immediately started talking business with the dock supervisor. 2 other crew members began unloading cargo containers filled with salvaged metal and electronic parts. But it was the 4th person who caught Hana's attention. He was young, maybe in his mid-20s, with dark hair and calm eyes that seemed to take in everything around him without judgment. While the others focused on their work, he stood quietly observing the station's layout, the different species walking by, and the way everything operated together. "Translator needed at docking. Bay 7, came the announcement through Hana's communicator. She gathered her equipment and headed down to help with the negotiations. When she arrived, the red-haired captain was already deep in discussion with Crix about metal prices and supply costs. Hana stepped in to help translate some of the technical terms that didn't translate well between languages. "Thank you," the captain said. "I'm Captain Reese. This is my crew." She gestured to the others. "That's Jin, our mechanic and tech specialist." The quiet young man nodded politely. "Nice to meet you, translator." "Hana," she replied, surprised by how normal he made it sound. Most humans either stared at her obvious mixed features or went out of their way to avoid looking at all. "Interesting station you have here," Jin said, looking around at the busy docking bay. "I've never seen this many different species working together so smoothly. How do you manage the cultural differences?" Hana blinked in surprise. Most visitors asked about mining quotas or fuel prices. Nobody had ever asked about how they made their community work. "It's not always easy," she admitted. "Each species has different customs and needs. My job is to help bridge those gaps." "That must be challenging," Jin said, and she could tell he really meant it. "Do you mind if I ask, are you Keltharian? You look different from the others." Here it comes, Hana thought. The pity, the awkward questions, the uncomfortable stares. But Jin's expression remained genuinely curious, not judgmental. "I'm half human," she said carefully. "My mother was from Earth." "Really? That's amazing. So you grew up understanding both cultures from the inside. That must give you a unique perspective on how different species can work together." Hannah felt something strange, a warmth in her chest that had nothing to do with the Iron Guard. When was the last time someone had talked to her like she was interesting rather than just different? Over the next few hours, as the lucky strikes, crew conducted their business. Jin kept finding reasons to ask Hannah questions. Not personal questions that made her uncomfortable, but thoughtful ones about Keltharian technology, their social structure, and how the mining operation worked. "The way your people organize work shifts is really smart," he said, while examining some of the station's technical displays. "On human colonies, we usually have more conflicts between different groups. Keltharians value harmony above most things," Hannah explained, "but it comes with costs. Sometimes harmony means not questioning things that maybe should be questioned." Jin looked at her with those calm, thoughtful eyes. "Like what?" Hannah hesitated. She had never talked to anyone about her doubts, her questions about Keltharian traditions, but something about Jin made her feel safe to speak honestly. Like old customs that maybe don't make sense anymore. Traditions that might have worked in the past, but could be holding people back now. "Change is hard for any culture," Jin said gently, "but usually the people who ask the difficult questions are the ones who help everyone grow." For the first time in years, Hannah felt like someone truly understood her. The Lucky Strike was supposed to stay docked for only 3 days, but Captain Reese decided to extend their visit when she learned about some rare metals available for trade. Jin didn't complain. He found himself fascinated by the station's unique blend of technologies from different worlds. During the day, he helped his crew with their salvage business, but in the evenings, he wandered the station's public areas, observing how everything worked. The Keltharians had built something remarkable here, a place where dozens of different species could live and work together peacefully. "You're always taking notes," Hannah observed one evening as she found him in the station's small library, sketching technical diagrams in a worn notebook. Jin looked up and smiled. "Occupational habit. I like understanding how things work. Your people have solved problems that most species never even think about." Hannah sat down across from him, curious. "Like what?" "Environmental controls, for one thing. This station maintains perfect atmosphere for at least 12 different species simultaneously. That's incredible engineering." He flipped to a page covered with calculations. "But what really interests me are the cultural technologies." "Cultural technologies?" "The ways your society has developed to handle differences between people, like that device you wear." Jin gestured toward her waist, where the Iron Guard's faint glow was visible through her clothing. "I've been reading about Keltharian customs in your public archives. It's fascinating how one piece of technology serves so many social functions." Hannah felt her cheeks warm. Most people either ignored the Iron Guard completely or stared at it rudely. Jin talked about it like it was just another interesting machine. "What did you learn?" she asked carefully. Jin pulled out a datapad and showed her some of the research he'd been doing. According to the historical records, the Iron Guard was created about 800 years ago by a Keltharian scientist named Vorthak. But here's the interesting part. He wasn't trying to create a genetic lock. "What do you mean?" "Look at his original notes." Jin scrolled through translated text on his pad. He was studying emotional resonance patterns. He believed that true compatibility between mates could be measured by how their brain patterns synchronized when they felt genuine care for each other. Hannah leaned forward, suddenly very interested. "But everyone says it reads genetic compatibility. That's what people think, but the original design was completely different." Vorthak built the Iron Guard to respond to specific emotional frequencies, patterns that only appear when someone feels real love and protectiveness toward the wearer. Jin pulled up more data, showing complex wave patterns and energy readings. Over the centuries, the technology got misunderstood. People started believing it worked by reading DNA or bloodlines, but that's not how it functions at all. "How do you know all this?" I have a gift for reading old technical manuals, Jin said with a slight smile. Plus, human brain patterns are similar enough to Keltharian ones that I can understand the emotional mapping systems. The science is actually beautiful. It's trying to identify genuine affection, not genetic markers. Hana felt something shift in her understanding of everything she'd believed about herself. So it doesn't matter that I'm half human. According to Vorthak's original design, species doesn't matter at all. The Iron Guard is looking for someone who truly cares about your happiness and freedom, regardless of what planet they're from. That night, Hana lay in her bunk staring at the ceiling, thinking about Jin's words. For 12 years, she had believed that the Iron Guard made her different, marking her as someone who needed to find a specific type of mate. But what if it was simpler than that? What if it was just waiting for someone who genuinely cared about her as a person? The device hummed softly against her skin, and for the first time it didn't feel like a prison. The message came during Hana's shift in the translation booth. Her father's aide delivered it personally, a formal invitation written on traditional Keltharian crystal paper that glowed with embedded light patterns. Commander Vextar requests your presence in his quarters at the end of your work cycle, the aide said stiffly. He has important news to share. Hana's stomach dropped. In Keltharian culture, formal invitations from fathers to daughters usually meant one thing. She finished her translation work in a daze, barely able to focus on the conversations she was helping facilitate. When she arrived at her father's quarters, she found him standing with another Keltharian male she recognized but had never spoken to. Sub-Commander Thekvor was young, maybe 25 in human years, with the kind of perfect grey features that other Keltharians admired. He wore his military uniform with obvious pride, and his posture suggested someone who had never been told no in his entire life. Hana, her father said formally, I present Sub-Commander Thekvor, son of High Counselor Mextar. He has requested permission to court you. Thekvor stepped forward and gave a shallow bow. Translator Hana, I have watched your work from afar and find it adequate. You would make a suitable mate for someone of my position. Adequate. Suitable. The words hit Hana like cold metal. She looked at this stranger who talked about her like she was a piece of equipment he might purchase. Sub-Commander Thekvor has an excellent military record, her father continued. His family bloodline is pure Keltharian, going back 20 generations. This union would strengthen both our houses. What about what I want? Hana asked quietly. Thekvor looked surprised, as if the idea that she might have opinions hadn't occurred to him. Want? You should want to serve your family's honor and contribute to Keltharian society. My position will give you status and security. I already have work that I love, Hana said, her voice getting stronger. I contribute to this station every day. Translation work is temporary, Thekvor said dismissively. Once we are bonded, you will focus on more important duties, managing my household, raising our children, supporting my career advancement. Hana felt something snap inside her. For 18 years, she had been the dutiful daughter, accepting her father's decisions about her life. But this was too much, no, she said simply. Both men stared at her in shock. Keltharian daughters didn't refuse arranged marriages, especially not ones that offered such social advancement. Hana, her father said carefully, perhaps you need time to consider the honor being offered to you. I don't need time, I need answers. Hana turned to face him directly. For 18 years you've told me the Iron Guard would choose my mate. Now you're trying to choose for me instead. Which is it? Commander Vextar's expression hardened. I am trying to ensure your future. You are half human, which limits your options. Sub-Commander Thekvor is willing to overlook this disadvantage. Disadvantage? Hana felt her human temper flaring, something she had always tried to keep controlled. My mother's heritage is not a disadvantage. It's part of who I am. Your mother's heritage is why you need guidance, her father said firmly. Human emotions are unstable. You cannot trust your feelings to make such important decisions. That night, Hana couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Jin's research, about the original purpose of the Iron Guard, about her mother's books that spoke of love and choice and freedom. Finally, she got up and made her way to the Lucky Strike's docking bay. She found Jin in the ship's small workshop, working on some salvaged electronics by the light of a single lamp. He looked up when she knocked on the open doorway. "Hana, is everything okay?" "Jin," she said, "tell me about human marriages. How do humans choose their mates?" He set down his tools and really looked at her, seeing the distress she was trying to hide. "That's a big question. What's happened?" For the first time in her life, Hana told someone the complete truth about everything. Jin listened without interrupting as Hana told him about the arranged marriage, about Sub-Commander Thekvor's dismissive attitude, and about her father's insistence that human emotions couldn't be trusted. When she finished, her eyes were bright with unshed tears, but her voice was steady with determination. "I don't want to spend my life being someone's suitable choice," she said. "I want to matter to someone, not just serve their ambitions." Jin was quiet for a long moment, turning a small tool over in his hands. "On Earth we have a saying, the heart wants what it wants. It means that real love can't be forced or arranged. It just happens. But what if it never happens for me? What if the Iron Guard never opens because I'm too different? Half of me belongs to a species that most Keltharians barely understand. Can I see it?" Jin asked gently. "The Iron Guard, I mean. I've been studying the technical specifications, but I've never seen one up close." Hana hesitated, then lifted her shirt slightly so the device was visible. In the dim light of the workshop, its blue glow seemed brighter, more alive. Jin moved closer, his engineer's eye taking in the intricate patterns etched into the metal. "It's beautiful," he said softly. "Look at this craftsmanship. Every line has meaning. Every symbol serves a purpose." He pointed to some of the markings. "These aren't just decorations. They're part of the emotional resonance system I told you about." "It's been part of me for so long," Hana said. "Sometimes I forget it's there, and sometimes it feels like it's the only thing about me that matters." Jin looked up at her face, seeing the conflict in her expression. "It's not the only thing that matters. You're intelligent, kind, hardworking, curious about the world. You bridge cultures every day through your work. The Iron Guard is just one part of who you are. But it's the part that controls my future." "Does it?" Jin asked. "Or have you been told it controls your future?" He stood up and moved closer to her, his expression thoughtful. "Hana, can I try something? Based on my research, I have a theory about how this device really works." She nodded, trusting him in a way that surprised her. Jin placed his hand gently over the Iron Guard, his palm covering the central crystal. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Hana could feel the warmth of his hand through the metal, and something strange began to happen. "What are you thinking about?" she whispered. "You," Jin said quietly, his eyes still closed. "I'm thinking about how you deserve to choose your own path, how you should be free to love who you want to love, work where you want to work, live the life that makes you happy. I'm thinking about how anyone would be lucky to have someone as amazing as you choose them." The Iron Guard began to warm under his hand. The blue glow grew brighter, and Hana could feel a strange tingling sensation, like electricity dancing across her skin. "Jin," she breathed, "something's happening." The device started making a soft humming sound, then a series of gentle clicks. The metal bands that had held it closed for 12 years began to shift and separate. Light poured out from between the opening seams, bathing both of them in a warm, golden glow. With a final musical chime, the Iron Guard opened completely and fell away from her waist. For the first time since she was 6 years old, Hana was free. They both stared at the open device lying on the workshop floor, its job finally complete. Jin looked up at Hana with wonder in his eyes. "It worked," he whispered. "It actually worked." Hana touched her waist where the Iron Guard had been, feeling almost dizzy with the absence of its familiar weight. "How did you know?" Jin smiled, reaching out to take her hand. "Because I care about you, really care about you, and apparently that's all it ever needed to know." The news spread through Mining Station Alpha 7 like wildfire. By morning, everyone knew that Translator Hana's Iron Guard had been opened, not by the proud Keltharian sub-commander her father had chosen, but by a human salvage worker. Hana tried to go to work as usual, but she could feel the stares and hear the whispered conversations that stopped whenever she walked by. Some Keltharians looked at her with shock, others with disapproval, and a few with what might have been envy. The first official response came from Sub-Commander Thekvor himself. He stormed into the translation center with 2 junior officers, his face dark with anger. "You have brought shame upon both our families," he declared loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear. "To have your Iron Guard opened by an alien, by a human, is an insult to every Keltharian on this station." "The Iron Guard opened because it was meant to," Hana replied calmly, though her heart was racing. "That's how the tradition works." "The tradition works for Keltharian males of good breeding," Thekvor snapped. "Not for scavengers who manipulate our sacred technology for their own purposes." Word reached Commander Vextar within the hour. Hana had never seen her father so furious. He summoned her to his quarters immediately, and when she arrived she found him pacing like a caged animal. "Explain this disgrace," he commanded without any greeting. "There's nothing to explain, Papa." "The Iron Guard opened for Jin because he truly cares about me. Isn't that what it was designed to do? It was designed to choose a suitable Keltharian mate for you. This human has somehow corrupted the mechanism." "He didn't corrupt anything. He understood it better than anyone else has in centuries." Commander Vextar stopped pacing and stared at his daughter. "You will report to the medical bay immediately. The device will be reattached and recalibrated." "No," Hana said quietly. The word hung in the air between them like a challenge. Commander Vextar had commanded troops in battle, managed complex mining operations, and negotiated with hostile alien species. But he had never heard his daughter simply refuse his direct order. "What did you say?" "I said no, Papa. I won't put it back on. I'm 18 years old and I have the right to make my own choices." Before her father could respond, his communication device buzzed with an urgent message. The Keltharian Council was calling an emergency session. They wanted to discuss the Iron Guard incident and its implications for station security and cultural integrity. The council meeting was held in the station's largest conference room. 12 senior Keltharians sat around a curved table with Commander Vextar at the head. Jin had been summoned to attend, along with his captain and Hana herself. "Council." Leader Zephytar spoke first, his ancient voice carrying the weight of centuries of tradition. "Human Jin of vessel Lucky Strike, you're accused of tampering with sacred Keltharian technology. This is a serious offense that threatens the foundation of our society." Jin stood calmly before the council. "Respected leaders, I didn't tamper with anything. I studied the original design specifications and used the device exactly as its creator intended." "Impossible," declared Council Member Vorthix. "The Iron Guard responds only to genetic compatibility with Keltharian males." "With respect, sir, that's not accurate." Jin pulled out his data pad and projected his research onto the room's main screen. "I've spent the last week studying your historical archives. The Iron Guard was created by scientist Vorthak 800 years ago, and his original notes are very clear about its purpose." The projected text showed Vorthak's own words, translated into modern Keltharian. "This device shall recognize the resonance of genuine affection and protective care, regardless of the species or origin of the potential mate. Love knows no boundaries of blood or birth world." A shocked silence filled the room. Several council members leaned forward to read the ancient text more carefully. "These records have been sealed for centuries," Council Leader Zephytar said slowly. "How did you access them?" "They weren't sealed from human researchers," Jin replied. "Your public archives contain complete records of pre-unification scientific work. I simply read what was already available." Commander Vextar stared at the screen, his expression shifting from anger to confusion to something that might have been understanding. "If this is true," he said quietly, "then we have misunderstood our own tradition for 800 years. The council chamber fell into stunned silence as Jin continued his presentation. Page after page of ancient Keltharian texts appeared on the main screen, each one challenging everything they thought they knew about their most sacred tradition. Scientist Vorthak created the Iron Guard during a time of great social change, Jin explained, his voice calm but passionate. Keltharian society was moving from arranged marriages to personal choice, and parents were struggling with how to protect their daughters while still allowing them freedom. Council leader Zeftar leaned forward, studying the ancient text. "Continue, human Jinn. What did our ancestors truly intend?" Jinn scrolled to another document, this one showing detailed technical drawings. Vorthak designed the Iron Guard as a safeguard against forced marriages and selfish motives. It was meant to ensure that whoever wanted to marry a Keltharian daughter truly loved her for herself, not for her family's status or wealth. The drawings showed brainwave patterns and emotional resonance charts. Hana watched her father's face as he realized what he was seeing, scientific proof that the device had never been about genetics or bloodlines. "Look at this passage." Jinn highlighted a section of text. Vorthak wrote, "Too many of our daughters are seen as prizes to be won or resources to be acquired. This device will recognize only those whose hearts sing with genuine love and whose minds think first of the daughter's happiness, not their own gain." Council member Keith Rawle, an elderly female who rarely spoke in meetings, stood up slowly. "I remember stories my grandmother told me," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "She said that in the old days, the Iron Guard sometimes opened for unexpected people, merchants, artists, even members of other species who had come to trade with us." "What happened to those stories?" Hana asked, speaking for the first time. "Since the meeting began, they were discouraged," Kethril admitted. "As our society became more militaristic, more focused on genetic purity and social status, the stories of the Iron Guard choosing based on love became seen as embarrassing mistakes." Jinn brought up another document. "About 400 years ago, a High Council decree reinterpreted the Iron Guard's function. They claimed it was a genetic compatibility device designed to ensure pure Keltharian bloodlines. But this was completely contrary to Vorthak's original design." Commander Vextar spoke quietly, his voice heavy with realization. "We turned a device meant to ensure our daughters' happiness into a tool for controlling them." "The corruption got worse over time," Jinn continued. "Parents started using the Iron Guard as a way to force their daughters to accept only suitable matches. Young men began to believe they could unlock it through social pressure or family connections, rather than genuine feeling." He showed them statistics from his research. In the past 200 years, the number of Iron Guards that actually opened dropped by 70%. Many Keltharian women lived their entire lives waiting for a device that could never unlock, because no one around them actually cared about their individual happiness. Hana felt tears running down her face as she understood how many women had suffered because of this misunderstanding. "How many lives were wasted?" she whispered. "Too many," Council leader Zeftar said grimly. "But now we know the truth. The question is, what do we do with this knowledge?" Sub-Commander Thekvor, who had been silent throughout the presentation, suddenly stood up. "This changes nothing," he declared. "Tradition is tradition. We cannot simply abandon centuries of custom because one human claims to understand our technology better than we do." "It's not about understanding technology," Jinn replied firmly. "It's about understanding love. Your ancestor Vorthak knew that real love, the kind that makes people truly happy, doesn't care about species or status or bloodlines. It only cares about the connection between two hearts." He looked directly at Hana. "And when I placed my hand on that device, I wasn't thinking about genetics or politics or what anyone else wanted. I was thinking about Hana's right to be free, to be happy, to choose her own path in life. That's all the Iron Guard ever needed to know." The council meeting ended without a clear resolution. While some members were convinced by Jinn's research, others clung to the old interpretations. Sub-Commander Thekvor and his supporters demanded that Jinn be exiled from the station and that Hana be forced to reattach the Iron Guard. For 3 days, heated debates raged through the station's corridors. Some Keltharians whispered that maybe their traditions needed to change. Others argued that accepting a human's interpretation of their customs would destroy their cultural identity. Hana found herself caught in the middle of it all. Half the station treated her like a hero who had exposed an ancient lie. The other half saw her as a traitor who had abandoned her people for an outsider. Maybe we should just leave, Jin said one evening as they sat in the Lucky Strike's common area. Captain Reese had made it clear that Hana was welcome to join their crew if she wanted to escape the controversy. "Where would we go?" Hana asked. "You're human, but you've chosen to be with someone who's half alien. I'm Keltharian, but I've rejected their traditions. We don't really belong anywhere." "Maybe that's exactly why we belong together," Jin replied softly. The answer came from an unexpected source. Captain Reese received a message from the Frontier Exploration Alliance, a multi-species organization that mapped unknown regions of space. They had heard about the Iron Guard incident and were interested in recruiting both Jin and Hana for a special mission. "They're putting together a crew to explore the Rim territories," Captain Reese explained. "It's mostly uncharted space where a lot of mixed heritage people and cultural outcasts have started new colonies. They need someone with Jin's technical skills and someone with Hana's translation abilities." "It sounds dangerous," Hana said. "It sounds like freedom," Jin countered. Before they could make their decision, Commander Vexitar requested a private meeting with his daughter. Hana hadn't spoken to her father since the council meeting, and she approached his quarters with mixed feelings. She found him sitting at his desk, surrounded by ancient texts and historical documents. He looked older than she remembered, as if the revelations about the Iron Guard had aged him years in just a few days. "I have been studying," he said without looking up, "reading everything Vorthak wrote about his invention, about his hopes for our people." "And what did you learn, Papa?" "That I have been a fool." He finally met her eyes, and she saw genuine regret there. "I thought I was protecting you by choosing your path, but Vorthak designed the Iron Guard specifically to prevent fathers like me from making that mistake." He stood up and walked to a wall display showing an image of her mother. "Your mother chose to come here, chose to love me, chose to have you. She made those choices freely, against the advice of her own people. How could I honor her memory by taking away your right to make the same kind of choices?" Tears filled Hana's eyes. "Papa, the Frontier Exploration Alliance has offered you both positions," he continued. "I think you should take them, not because I want you to leave, but because I want you to choose your own adventure." He pulled something from his desk drawer, a small crystal pendant that had belonged to her. "Mother, she would have wanted you to see the stars, to explore new worlds, to build bridges between different peoples. It's who you are, little star. Half human, half Keltharian, but completely yourself." 2 weeks later, Hana and Jin stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel New Horizons as it prepared to jump to hyperspace. The crew was a mix of species from across the galaxy, humans, Keltharians, and a dozen other races, all working toward the common goal of expanding knowledge and building connections between worlds. "Ready for the jump," announced the pilot, a cheerful, blue-skinned Andorian. Jin took Hana's hand as the stars outside began to stretch into lines of light. "Any regrets?" Hana smiled, feeling truly free for the first time in her life. "Only that it took us this long to find each other." As the ship leaped into hyperspace, carrying them toward unknown worlds and new possibilities, Hana thought about all the other hybrid children out there, trapped between cultures, waiting for someone to show them that they didn't have to choose. Just one side of themselves. She and Jin would find them, and they would help them discover their own keys to freedom.